Hey, if you've been thinking about building a new PC lately and it just feels, I don't know, kind of weirdly expensive and confusing, well, you are definitely not alone. The market has changed in a big way. And today, we're diving into how one of the biggest players out there, AMD, is making a huge pivot, one that's going to affect pretty much everyone, from the high-end gamers all the way down to the budget builders.
So, is the golden age of PC building really over? I mean, you see this question popping up all over the place, right? In forums, comment sections, everywhere. Look, the market is for sure changing. And for a giant company like AMD, the choice is pretty simple. You either adapt or you get left behind. So let's get into it and break down what's really going on here. Okay, so first things first, we gotta understand the bigger picture. You remember that massive surge in PC sales we saw during the pandemic? Yeah. Well, that boom is officially over. It's cooled way, way down, and the reasons why are actually pretty clear.
What we're looking at is basically a perfect storm of economic pressures. I mean, you've got general inflation squeezing everyone's wallets, so of course that's going to soften demand. But then, on top of that, you have these stubbornly high memory prices that are making new PC builds more expensive than anyone wants them to be. And the result of that squeeze? Well, it's exactly what you'd expect. Shipment forecasts are taking a nosedive, and the entire DIY market is really, really feeling the pinch.
So, how is a company like AMD, one of the absolute biggest players in the game, supposed to react to all this? Well, their CEO, Lisa Su, has actually been super direct about the challenges they're facing and, more importantly, what the company's plan is to get through it.
And this quote, this is absolutely crucial. She's saying, yeah, we know the PC market is down. But then she follows it up with this confident statement that they believe they can still grow. Now, that confidence isn't coming from hoping the market just bounces back. No, no. It's based on a massive strategic pivot. They're not trying to fight the current. They're basically planning to swim in a totally different direction.
And this, right here, is that pivot. AMD is fundamentally shifting its focus. They're moving away from a volume war, trying to sell the absolute most chips possible, and they're jumping into a value war. The new goal isn't about quantity, it's about quality and profitability. They're going to concentrate on the high-margin parts of the market. So let's take a look at what that actually means in practice.
So, their new game plan kind of breaks down into a three-pronged strategy. First up, prioritize the enterprise market. We're talking business systems, commercial deployments, that whole world. Second, focus on premium and high-end systems. This means those expensive gaming rigs and high-end notebooks where the profit margins are really juicy. And third, and this one's a big bet on the future, they want to lead in mobile and edge AI. So you might be hearing that term edge AI and wondering, what on earth is that? Well, to put it simply, it's all about moving AI processing away from the cloud and putting it directly onto your device, your laptop, your phone, whatever. What that gets you is faster, more secure AI, which is a huge deal for things like professional workflows. And let me tell you, AMD is betting big on this. They're already designing future chip architectures. They've even got cool code names like Gorgon Point and Ryzen AI Halo, built specifically to dominate this whole next generation of computing. You know, this whole strategic shift isn't just about finding new ways to grow. It's also about finding stability. Because let's be real, the DIY consumer market can be incredibly volatile. Up one year, down the next. So what AMD is doing is building a much more resilient business model.
Now, at first glance, you see a number like this, 37%, and you'd think, wow, the PC business must be absolutely booming for AMD. I mean, a 37% year-over-year revenue growth in their client segment sounds amazing, right? But the real story behind that number is where things get super interesting. And boom, here's the catch. This is the strategy in action. That incredible growth isn't coming from selling more stuff overall. It's coming from selling a different product mix. They're selling more of their expensive, high-margin products. Think high-end Ryzen CPUs and Radeon GPUs. So even if the total number of units sold is down, they're making way more money on each sale. It's pretty clever.
This really lays out the two different sides of their business. On one side, you have that super volatile, unpredictable DIY consumer market. It's all based on consumer feelings and component costs. But on the other side, you have these massive, stable revenue streams from custom silicon deals, the perfect example being their partnership with Microsoft for the Xbox. Those deals act just like big enterprise contracts, giving them guaranteed volume and a steady, predictable income. That's what protects them from the crazy ups and downs of the consumer world. All right, so enough of the corporate strategy talk. What does all this actually mean for you and me, for the people who just want to build a great gaming PC without having to take out a second mortgage? Well, To figure that out, let's take a look at the hardware roadmap. So looking at the GPU roadmap, the most important detail isn't the technology, it's the date. The next major leap forward in their consumer GPU architecture, which they're calling RDNA 5, isn't even planned until the second half of 2027. Let that sink in. That is a long time from now. So the takeaway here is pretty clear. Don't hold your breath for some revolutionary, market-shaking new graphics card from AMD anytime in the near future. And really, it all circles back to this one key issue, the memory factor. As long as those memory costs stay sky high, it just doesn't make good business sense to produce low-margin, high-volume hardware for the budget PC market. It's just a bad bet. So AMD is putting its chips, pun intended, where the money is a lot more certain.
And all of this leaves us with one really big question, doesn't it? AMD's pivot to focus on premium products and enterprise customers. Look, it's a completely logical, smart response to a really tough market. But as they chase that high-margin stability, you have to wonder, what happens to the entry-level and DIY builders? The very people who helped make AMD a household name in the first place. Are they going to be left behind? I guess only time will tell.